Hello everyone. This video is about some essential writing techniques that we require in your academic submissions. I think we've already talked about them and discussed them during our lectures, but I would like to keep this video for you in case you haven't attended the lectures. So let's start off with summarizing. Summarizing is the act of shortening a text by highlighting the relevant ideas that are scattered along this lengthy piece of writing. We cut, for instance, a 10-page article into a 1-page summary. This is summarizing. We are focusing on all the main ideas that give us the overall view of what's being discussed in an article or in a study, in addition to all the relevant details, all the supporting details, the pieces of evidence that we can find along this study or this article. The most important thing in summarizing that we care about in this module is having you use your own words, use your own structures instead of the words given in the text or the structures given in the text. And I have already mentioned that you can use lots of online tools that are not the paraphrasing tools or the summarizing tools. Instead, we focus on helping you develop your own skills. So you should not depend on any external factor to help you produce your own work. So use your own words, use thesaurus if you're struggling with finding synonyms, and you can also do some further practice with grammar on any tool of the ones provided below this video. So in other words, summarizing is the act of cutting a long story short, making it brief. This was the practice that I gave them in the class. I would like you to underline the main ideas. This was the first step. You can pause this video and practice, and after you finish underlining the parts that you think have the main ideas, you can resume the video. Now, these are the main ideas, and as you can see, you don't have to underline a full-length sentence. The main idea could be given in a concept, could be given in a phrase, could be revealed in a clause, so you do not have to underline a full-length sentence in order to extract the main idea of the text. The second step that the students did, or your peers did, was restructuring the underlined items in their own language. So now pause this video again and try to restructure all the underlined ideas in one sentence in your own language. And please remember that as long as this is an academic English course, you need to include the given citation. Again, you can pause this video, do this restructuring activity, and then play the video again in order to see the suggested answer. Here is the suggested summary. I'd like you to compare it to the one that you've produced and see how possible it is to structure scattered ideas or keywords into a full-length, meaningful sentence. The importance of this part, or this activity, is actually practicing using varieties of lexicon in order to provide different synonyms for the same word or sets of words, so that you'd be able to flexibly express what you understood out of this part of the text. At the same time, it also helps you, gives you the space to practice with sentence structure the way you want. So please feel free to make mistakes, to get feedback in order to develop more. The second technique that we are talking about now is paraphrasing. We have talked about paraphrasing in the sense of borrowing specific details from the text. In other words, the sources that you've been given, you were asked to read them, you were asked to highlight the parts that you think are going to be supporting details for your argument when you write or for your discussion. And this means that if you're going to choose specific lines or specific pieces of information, you need to be aware of the fact that you will need to borrow these specific details but restate them in your own language to avoid plagiarizing. At the same time, because as I told you, we do not prefer quoting. Rather, please use paraphrasing because we want to test your skill of language, how you use your language in terms of vocabulary, in terms of sentence structures, and so on. And the style, of course. Now, you're free to change the wording, you're free to change the style and the structure of the sentence that's given in the source or whatever pieces of details that you'd like to borrow, but at the same time you must use your own language and you must provide the proper citation. This was again the practice. It's basically the same paragraph that they worked on in the previous activity. I'd like you to choose a specific sentence and write it, or a couple of sentences, of course, it would be much better. And I'd like you to write them in your own notebook and then change the words and the structure using your own style, using your own language, okay? And remember to add the in-text citation again because it's an academic English course. As you know, you can use thesaurus to help you find synonyms. The bonus point of attending the class was that they were giving feedback based on the performance. Now, if you're watching this online, you can still get feedback by email, but that's why it's really important for yourselves to attend the classes. The third and final writing technique that we discussed was synthesizing. And synthesizing is the act of restructuring your notes by concept or perspective. In other words, it's quite similar to classifying the notes or the details that you've picked up from the different texts based on the perspective or the focus of your paper. So, as you can see here, like you have a line with empty slots and you fill it out with whatever details taken from the sources that you're using. Now the process of synthesizing is as follows. You read the sources, you take notes, extract details, and then you create linking relevant relations amongst these details. You link them together, again, according to your own perspective, to your own structure, okay? And then you combine these ideas, these selected ideas, in a new structure to create or to compose a new focused text. And by the end of your exploration, you come up with a general judgment or conclusion, which again meets what we basically do, which is the discuss essay. Now, for the step of applying what we have discussed on your body notes that I have seen, or on any notes that you make for any topic, you need to identify the perspective. It must be sharpened and clear. You must find the relevant ideas, and you also need to structure them to produce a sentence with an overall judgment. In the case of writing about the impact of immigrants on hosting countries and whether it has, the immigration, whether it has positive or negative impacts on hosting countries, you can identify the perspective, whether it is economic, it's cultural, social, and so on. And then you'll find the relevant ideas taken from the sources provided from the reading pack, and then you will structure them to produce a sentence or a body paragraph or whatsoever, with an overall judgment at the end of the thing. This is all for these 3 writing skills so far. As you may know by now, summarizing is the basic reading technique. It is focused on the main ideas or their supporting or subordinate details. When we summarize, we list keywords or key ideas. We order them the same way they are given. And when we summarize, we get information from one source at a time. Like we finish summarizing one source and then we move on to summarizing the other one. And when we summarize this particular source or a particular source, we follow the same order given in this source, same order of ideas. In the act of summarizing, we retell, we list ideas and details, and we, as I've just told you, shorten the text. The purpose of summarizing is shortening the text, and it's an objective and neutral process. You're not supposed to add your opinion, you're not supposed to draw conclusion when you summarize. When you synthesize, you are doing an advanced reading act, or you're practicing an advanced reading technique. You combine relevant ideas together based on the concept or the points of focus. You integrate data borrowed or taken from different sources, and you go beyond the text structure by restructuring and reordering the ideas that you combine. And at the same time, you know by now that when you synthesize, you get relevant information that are focused on developing a specific perspective or specific focus regarding a topic from a variety of sources. The information that you get from the sources are unified under one sole concept at a time, instead of following the same order given in the source. Again, that is because you're following the focus of your perspective, not following the structure of the text that you summarize. In synthesizing, you restructure, you integrate ideas, and you connect them together logically. The purpose of synthesizing is to come to a final judgment or to final judgments regarding the topic that you're exploring. And when you synthesize, you are actually oriented toward a specific perspective, and this means that you need to have an opinion, which is the judgment or the overall conclusion, the stance that we ask you to provide by the end of your essay. This is all for summarizing, paraphrasing, and synthesizing. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments below.